The topic for my blog this week is something that has been firmly in my mind since my last several projects have been either cotton or hemp. And this is more of a problem when you are working with inelastic fibers, and that is uneven tensions at the beginning and end of rows. And also I see this in my students' work all the time. It's very, very common. And the chief reason it happens is that people begin and end rows with different tension. And there's a very, very, very simple fix for this. And Binka Schwan in her Taming Tension class recommends beginning rows tighter than you end them. And that works. But what I've found is that when some people hear that begin rows tighter is that they do this. They work that first stitch and they really pull on it. Now all that does is if you are really tightening up in that first stitch, all you're doing is pulling yarn from the previous row, which is this row, my next row. If I'm pulling very tightly before I start to knit, I'm making all of these stitches smaller, and all that's going to do is make this look worse, and that's what I did in order to get my edge looking like this. I pulled really tight when beginning those stitches. Now, what I do is I work the first stitch kind of at a normal tension, the next stitch at a normal tension, and then on that third one, I give it a little extra tug, fourth one, give it an extra tug, and then work to the end of the row. Now, when I get to the end of the row, the other way that you can make this problem worse is notice that you have a point of your needle and then you have the barrel of the needle. If I try and work these stitches with just the tip and keep them towards the tip instead of really sliding them very far down on my needle because they're at the tip and I'm going to be working them next, that tends to keep them a little smaller. The same goes for working in this direction. If I were to really pull tightly on this, all it would do is make the stitches here that I'm going to be working smaller. So I'm not going to do that. I am going to work it at normal tension. That doesn't mean I'm going to have this big old gloppy thing, but I'm not going to just give it that strong yank. I'm going to work a couple of stitches and then just slightly tighten up. And when I say tighten up, I don't mean just yank and pull. Just make it a little tighter. You get a feel for it as you work. And then again, I'm near the end, so I'm going to just use my needle tip, use my needle tip, use my needle tip. And there we go. And you can see that those rows that I worked, the tension is even. I don't have the big gloppy things at either end. So we'll do it one more time on the knit side. I'm going to work my first stitch, and I'm not going to yank and pull on it, but I'm just going to kind of tighten up a bit. Same here. And then on the third and fourth ones, just pull a little tighter for those. And then work in normal tension to the end of this row. And then just barely use the needle tips. And I've solved the issue. Now, if you're not sure if you have an issue, sometimes when you look at the right side, it may be insignificant enough that you can't see it. As I said, I really exaggerated here. I just, pulled it up so tight. What I can do is if I look on the wrong side, I'm going to see gutters at the edge stitches. Notice how it does not, this looks pretty normal up here, and this doesn't. That's what it looks like when you've got a problem. And when in doubt, just turn it over and you can see it. And if I manage to solve this problem on cotton and hemp, when you're working with wool, it should be a breeze. You just have to practice it.